Sometimes we have forms and you have like 10 different inputs, and some of the inputs are very closely related. Okay, so um, for example, here we might have asking for your favorite color and your favorite quest, and maybe your address. And for the address, we actually have several text inputs: your street, city, state, and zip. And then other things like a checkbox about are you happy or not? Great, we can go ahead, we know how to make a form that would have all those input tags with the name attributes accordingly, and we would look at the array post and would see some array like this where we just have all these 7 values sitting here flat side by side. And it's a little bit unsatisfying. We'd like all the address things to get clumped together somehow. Well, how can we clump things together? Really what we'd want is not the address being 4 different strings. We want it to be one object that contains 4 strings, like in Java 1, an object with 4 fields inside of it. Yeah, that then we could say, hey, this one object is an address object. Well, we can do that in PHP. We're not going to go into the PHP's object system. There is an object system. We're going to be a little bit more lowbrow. We're just going to say, hey, I just want the 4 parts of the array all clumped together in its own array. Okay, so the 4 parts of the address, that is. So first of all, just showing that, yeah, we can do that in PHP. Start up an interactive window here. And I'm just going to go ahead and do a var dump of an array. Remembering to do, an array that contains 7 and has the string A mapped to the string ZZ and 4 mapped to 99. Okay. We can do a var dump of that, and we see, yep, an array with 3 items, 0 is mapped to the int 7, etc. The key A is mapped to the string here. Okay. Same thing, except that I'm going to go ahead and add one more item here. I'm going to go ahead and, sure, I can even have a key for it. The key stuff is going to go to an entire array here. Okay, an array containing 8 and blah and true. Okay, so an array containing 3 things. And I'm going to do the var dump of that. And now I get an array with 4 things. The array contains 7. The array contains down here the string ZZ, just like before, and the integer 99, just like before. And then it also contains this entire array of 3 more items. And in fact, that array is referenced by the key stuff. Okay, so yeah, and we have an array inside an array. And again, that's no more mysterious than an object, some of whose fields are themselves objects. We've learned in information science how to have this hierarchical information data representation. And just to go and give that a name so I can work with it, I'll call it things, not stuff. I don't want to be redundant here. So things, oops, is an array. Echo or var dump of things will give us what we just saw. I can go ahead and say, hey, what is things of 0? Oh, 7 was it index 0. Where's echo? What is things of, look up the key A, and we'll get back ZZ. What is things of stuff? An entire array, and now again echo is not very good with arrays, so var dump does better. Okay, and the only thing I want to now mention here is, okay, what if I want to go through, I know that if I take things and look up stuff, I get back an array. What if in that array I want to look up, what is it, index 1? Okay. Well, if I have an array, I know how to look up the thing at index 1, put the array, and then square bracket 1, square bracket. So I'm going to go ahead and have the array that I'm interested in, things of stuff, and put square bracket 1, square bracket. And I should probably echo that. And sure enough, I get back the string blah, and I can look at, hey, within the array things of stuff, what's at index 2, and so on. Okay. Uh, if I wanted to, if I had a program and I was accessing things of stuff left and right, and I kept was accessing things inside that subarray inside things, I could go ahead and make my own variable and set it to be things of stuff, the entire array. What should I call this array? I think there's one reasonable name for it, and only one. I'm going to use the name stuff. I could call it, my stuff or other things or little subarray inside things. All those names are confusing. I think calling it stuff is nice because it has that analog. If I ever want to go back to my array things and say, hey, what was the index I was using again? This variable name is helping me remember that. Or vice versa. If I knew what the index was, I'm like, what variable name was I using for that again? Oh, right. Okay, now I can do, say, echo stuff of 2 and stuff of 1. And so, in fact, I can look at the entire array stuff if you like. You'll have no surprise, it's the array containing 3 things. So what's the point? You can either go ahead and, if you have a nested array, access it with 2 pairs of square brackets. That's exactly how Java works, right? You don't really have 2-dimensional arrays in Java. You have arrays whose elements are themselves arrays, and we call that a 2-dimensional array. And it makes sense. If you use one set of square brackets, you get back another array. And if you have that array and want to access inside that, add another set of square brackets after it. Okay. If you're pulling things out of the middle of it, you can go ahead and just pull out that subarray and use that directly. So, okay. Now back to forms. All the same information, but how do we get forms to put things into subarrays? So I have the form with favorite color request, street, city, state, zip, and is happy. And if I just go ahead and make my straight up input attributes, they're going to sit there, and I'm going to get this big flat array. I would like to get this array here. So favorite color is orange, quest is cookies, is happy is yep, and address is an entire array. Okay, well, here's how we go ahead and do that back in our input tags. We have an input type equal text and favorite color. We have another input with name equal quest. We have another input with name is happy. And now we have an input with name address square bracket street, address square bracket city. Okay. When my web browser, and it just sees that as the name attribute, because that is the key value pair. When PHP is unpacking that, it says, hey, I have a name attribute that has some square brackets in it. Oh, I'm going to make a subarray. I'm going to make post and put this into post. I'm going to say post of address is a subarray, and within that subarray, I'm going to go and stick something in at the index city, whatever the corresponding value is. Okay, so it's pretty intuitive because you put things in like this, and it looks pretty handy. I will just sort of mention the one thing that's, and how do we get things out? We later say underscore post of address and zip. The one thing I will just draw your attention to is that the one difference is inside these square brackets here, we don't put single quotes or double quotes at all inside the name attribute back in the HTML. But when we access them in PHP, they're strings. It's a string index, and we want to have quotes around that. So just there's that slight discrepancy. Do you include the quotes inside the square brackets? Well, not in the HTML, but yes in the PHP code. And now I know what you're thinking. Some of you are thinking, hey, Barland, I'm a PHP whiz. If you actually write PHP code and leave strings off of something, if you leave quote marks off of something, it will assume it's a string anyway. Don't do that. That is insane. Okay, it was insane of PHP to let that be legal. Just because PHP makes it legal does not mean we should do it. Okay, so, and I even mentioned here how you can go ahead and either go ahead and access this as a 2-dimensional array in code, or you can go ahead and if you like, pull that subarray into its own variable and then just use that subarray. The last thing I'll mention is I have some things here, and this has nothing to do with posts or forms, but subarrays and accessing arrays inside string concatenation. You might remember, hey, can't we go ahead and just say the address of city? The address of city, yeah, the address of city is, and then not end my string code, just sort of inline this, literally, okay? And the answer is I can't quite because these little tick marks are goofing us up again. Oh, but they need to be there. I mean, it really is a string. Don't omit them. Okay. So in particular, I can go ahead and say echo hi there, and then stuff of 1, comma, by. Okay. And we get hi there, blah, by. And you're like, hey, can't we just go ahead and do this? And for stuff of 1, it ends up kind of working. If the key were a string, do I have any? Go back to things. Let me scroll up to see what things actually contained again. Things had something index 0, and then A was also an index. So 0 and A were both valid indexes here. So things of 0 gets replaced with 7, but things of A, well, again, I should have double or single quotes around that A, and now things don't happen. I have my error reporting turned on. Actually, this is not even independent of error reporting. So just a parse error. So, okay, so yeah, what do? In this case here, I go ahead and just use the echo something, comma, something, comma, something, and I don't use this variable interpolation with arrays whose indices are themselves strings. So, okay. But anyway, quick upshot. Yeah, if you happen to have square brackets as your name attribute, great. When you look up in PHP, you'll have a subarray inside your post, and that's exactly what we want in a lot of circumstances. Okay, I'll see you later.